I've been okay with when I told y'all was obnoxious. Truthfully, I've been okay with when y'all told me I couldn't be a good safety. I was okay with when y'all told me I couldn't go to Detroit and take them back to where they was. They never been somewhere. I don't play 2 games. I played 1 game with a broken arm. So you put me in the box and you tell me how I last against other safeties and other people in this league, and I'll let you describe.
Hey y'all, today of course it's Matt Rogers on the Honorable Mention podcast, which is a Philly sports podcast. But if you listen and you don't like the Philadelphia Eagles or the Phillies or the Sixers, you will still get tons of objective and topical information. Of course, today you'll recognize the voice, recognize the name, OJ Spivey from the Philadelphia Tribune, which is the longest running African-American newspaper in the country. It's always great to have you on, OJ. We as usual, we started getting too far upfield, and I was like, all right, we got to get it on wax as usual, because in my social media bio, I say, talking Philly sports with reporter friends, and that definitely not just on here. We have a running dialogue going, so we got a chance to let's just go there. Since today we got the opportunity, we talked about the ESPN article, which is the latest thing to come out. And so on that, let me read for the listeners, OJ, a couple of pertinent quotes. You have Johnson got stuck in what team sources describe as an awkward spot, trying to please a multitude of people in the building with conflicting viewpoints, most notably Hurts and Sirianni. The result was a watered-down version of Johnson, who is regarded around the league as a head coach in waiting. He lost his identity, a close observer said. Another quote, the line was blurred enough that some offensive players didn't know for sure who was calling plays, a team source told ESPN in January. Jalen doesn't give Nick enough credit, the source added. A lot of what we do well does stem from Nick. And then another quote talked about his conversation with Wink Martindale. I've been doing this for 40 years, said Martindale, now the defensive coordinator for the University of Michigan, previously from the Giants. And it's the first time I've had an opposing quarterback call me up. I thought it was pretty cool that the guy called. It shows that the kind of pro he really is. He's just looking at every angle that he can to get better. Go ahead and just start anywhere, because that article is chock full of avenues.
Yeah, we could be all day, all night with this, Matt. And just one thing, I just want to start with former offensive coordinator Brian Johnson. A couple of things with that. I think everybody owes him an apology, because obviously he was done dirty through this whole thing. When the losing streak happened towards the latter part of the season, and the swoon, if you will, everybody's saying, what's up with Brian Johnson? He's a terrible play caller, and he's in over his head, and he's just Jalen's boy, and
Yep.
all that stuff. And he's owed an apology, and he was made the fall guy, which is just it's up, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, while the defense was just getting torched every week, by the way, and he's the fall guy.
Before the last season started, we were talking about, the whole NFL was talking about, okay, this may be the next head coach in waiting in the NFL. And now, not only his reputation is tarnished, he may never become a head coach. He may never become an offensive coordinator again, for that matter, all because of this turmoil. And people really need to hunker down and talk about this. I mean, they literally, a young up-and-coming coach, his career is all but ruined. His aspirations of being in the NFL hierarchy is ruined. And
he will have to start again back at quarterbacks coach, get OC. He has to start. He can't even do a lateral move. He's not going to go and be a OC right away.
and Matt, we know how difficult it is for black men in the NFL to go in the coaching hierarchy, to become a head coach. They had a great offseason where, you had guys like, who am I thinking of? And in Las Vegas, he was promoted from being a defensive coach. So Pierce.
Antonio Pierce, yes, from the defense side. Okay.
You have holdovers like D'Amico Ryans, Mike Tomlin, of course. Nobody's going to fire Mike Tomlin. Even if so, he would get hired, 2 hours later. But we know how hard it is to be a head coach.
Playoff teams would get him.
Exactly. So Eagles probably might even, fire Sirianni to get Mike Tomlin. But, not putting the cart before ahead of the horse. But I mean, his Brian Johnson's reputation has been ruined all because of this fiasco. And you can almost blame Nick Sirianni for this. And it's really shitty. It really is. And I'm, I have to be partial for the most part, but when you look at the trajectory of how freaking hard it is to become a head coach in the NFL, especially if you're black and you don't have any nepotism involved, which was Bomani Jones talked about in his HBO show. It's terrible. But back to Jalen, back to Nick Sirianni. I mean, it was, we just thought the defense was the biggest thing, right? And there were inklings about Jalen and Nick Sirianni not getting along. But there was just so many things in there, so many things that fans wanted the Eagles to do, like running the ball more, being more judicious. I mean, we really didn't get the
stale.
Yeah, we really didn't get the just. And what did Nick Sirianni say, Matt? He said, "Oh yeah, it got stale." Well, who the got it stale? I mean, I'm trying not to be angry with this. So, but and we didn't get to see the just of putting the pieces together. Now we didn't get to see the full potential of DeAndre Swift. Could he be at every down back? Could he have been one to carry the full load? And might have been able to pay him less than Saquon Barkley, which
but
I'm not complaining about Saquon Barkley.
Saquon's different.
Saquon is. You're right. He's different. Listen, seeing him up close last week on the field at open practice, that MF is different, man.
Yes, he is. I mean, he's going full speed, and they're not even going thud at open practice, but the way he's making guys miss, they like Dean and different people like that. They didn't want
off the middle and in training camp, and nobody's tackling him and everything. But that's a whole nother story. But this whole thing stinks, man. And hence we have to have another play caller. We're all presuming that Kellen Moore is going to be, what he was in Dallas, what he was in LA. But again, somebody made a point. The Eagles are 14-3 again. We're gonna lose Kellen Moore. so there you go.
Hey, I'll take it. I mean, that's the way it works.
That's the way it is. You're right. But yeah, this whole thing, man, and just going to Wink Martindale. I mean, how sad is
ridiculous
that your franchise quarterback has to go outside of the building to essentially get answers on a blitz.
Because is he really gonna? I mean, it makes me respect Jalen Moore because he's not delusional and he's gonna use his resources.
But we knew that, man. He's never been delusional. I mean, he's a smart kid. I mean, he has a freaking master's degree, man.
Yeah.
Got his degree early in Alabama.
Matt Patricia.
And then got his master's degree in Oklahoma, right? So in the offseason, actually. So
Yep. Just
2 off
finished
seasons.
during the season. It was the Super Bowl season. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Last off season. Right. So yeah,
Okay.
he's a smart kid. He's a coach's son. I wrote an article about him being a coach's son. His dad has
Yes.
coached him forever. Coach Brian Johnson coached his older brother, of course. I mean, his dad is a legend in Houston, Texas. Right. So, I mean, and that's one of the things that always made me mad that, okay, oh yeah, they're giving him, limited packages, limited office. This
Yep.
kid wants to be coached, man. He wants
That's right.
to be coached. He said that 2 years ago. He wants to be coached. He wants to be coached hard, but obviously not with any nonsense. So, I mean, again, we're assuming that everything was a defense with Sean Desai and then Matt Patricia, the panic that went on there. But it was just as much as the offense. And then it makes sense, AJ Brown being frustrated, Devontae Smith being frustrated. We walk in the locker room after a win, and Jalen is right at Devontae Smith's locker.
Yeah.
And that was a win. And there's like
Christmas
disgusting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, and we were waiting right outside that locker room for an extended period of time because I'm a member of the Pro Football Writers Association, and the agreement that we have with the teams is that, okay, you have access no more than 15 minutes after the game.
So you got to get out of there.
Access to the locker room. No, they're supposed to open up the locker room about 15 minutes after the game. Because, you give time for the post-game speeches and all that kind of stuff. Those guys getting showered and dressed and, well, half dressed in some cases. But, that's the agreement. And then, those guys are still having conversations, man. So it's crazy. I mean, your franchise quarterback is calling a rival's former defensive coordinator to figure out the blitz. What is that all about? What does that mean? I mean, that tells you that Jalen is
not getting the answers from Johnson. He's not getting the answers from Sirianni either.
Correct. And let alone the quarterback coach. I mean, we haven't even heard about, he was let go, but what's the quarterback's coach? What was his piece in this, right? So it's just crazy. And I said when I read the article when it came out, I said two things. I said Nick Sirianni is definitely coaching for his job this season, and people owe Brian Johnson an apology.
Both agreed. Sirianni. So to take the bridge off of this from the ESPN story, then what's the bar that Sirianni has to clear? We both agree he's coaching for his job. Does he have to get to the divisional round? Does he got to get out of the divisional round? Have to make it to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl?
I don't think win the Super Bowl would definitely be a barometer. The first thing, win the division. I think he at least has to get to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I think the bar is the NFC Championship game too.
If
get
they go
there and not get blown out. Don't get blown out though. Especially don't get blown out in Philly.
Let's just say if they go 13-4, yeah, that could never happen. Let's just say they go 13-4. I'll say 13-4. They win a division. They get a 1 or 2 seed. They get to the NFC Championship game, close game, and maybe they lose. You know how Philly is. Some people may want them fired and everything, but I think that's enough.
It's unreasonable. Yeah.
I think
you get there.
I think it's rational enough for him to keep his job. But I think anything less, I think even a divisional loss, he may still be on the hot seat. So the offense is there, and Jalen has looked fabulous in training camp.
I was about to ask you about that. So you went there without me even asking. Yeah. So the camp reports are saying that. So keep going.
Yeah. So, I try not to take too much from training camp, good, bad, or indifferent. As good as Jalen Hurts has looked, some people are saying that Nakobe Dean looked just as bad. So you have to measure all that because nobody's hitting. They've had I think 4 intense practices in a row, if you want to say that.
Okay.
But I was there at open practice. I was there at there's last Sunday practice. So it looks like they got a lot of things done. But Jalen looks great. I think the offense looks great. AJ Brown looks in phenomenal shape. You know what you're gonna get with Devontae. I mean, that he makes
sounds like Devontae's getting better.
I mean, he makes acrobatic catches in training camp, right? So, you always wonder about him as far as his physique is concerned. Can it hold up? But he's in his 4th year, and the only time he got hurt was on a bad play call, right? What was that?
Absolutely.
The sense that internally there's a lack of full belief. Kenneth Gainwell, crowd doesn't like that call. Dimukeji gets him at the 25, and they settle for a Jake Elliott field goal attempt.
Snuffed it out.
That, right? Who called it? So everything is up for speculation.
Like when Deshaun.
It's almost like it's almost like a road cop, right? Who gives bad testimony, and then you have to go back and look at all his cases.
Yep.
You see what I mean?
Man. Everybody gets an automatic appeal.
Yeah, like you got to overturn all these cases, man. I mean, Brian Johnson for one, right?
Yeah.
So, going back to the article real quick, it talks about, like you mentioned, Jalen not giving Nick enough credit. It's a caveat to that. In a sense, I would say yes. You should give your head coach credit. You should be a little subordinate. You should be subordinate to your coach, especially with what's called
commanding
and everything.
officer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Line of command. Yeah.
Yeah. But a couple things. I mean, when Nick came in here, he tried to say, at least he said publicly, this is a quarterback competition. His first year. He said, it was preposterous. Everybody knew Jalen Hurts was going to be the quarterback. I tried to tell people were mad at me.
Lost some credibility.
Right. Exactly. We all knew that was
just burned the credibility.
But anyway, but I mean, I do give Nick some credit. I do, because if you win twice as many as your games as a head coach in the NFL, that has to stand for something. But
I don't
my
care
only
who you're playing. You could be playing the bad news Bears every week.
Exactly. 34-17 or however that goes. My only criticism of him is I never envision him or don't envision him as a great offensive mind. And that's being proven time and time again. What was their best season? Under Shane Steichen, right? So, I mean, they treaded water last year going 10-1, and then the wheels fell off. We can't even say for whatever reason now because we're getting more and more answers, even though most people want to move on. But I still think he's a good leader of men. I think he has some good assets. I think he knows how to run a team. I think he knows how to run day-to-day operations. I think he prepares pretty well, getting his guys to buy in for the most part. But getting guys to buy in, this goes back to Jalen, trust is everything. Can you trust that? Can you trust your coach that he's going to see the game the right way? He's going to make the right call. Because I'll never forget, and this was many years ago, and nobody was more strict a coach than Tom Landry, the heyday of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
And I mean, he did not budge whatsoever. That completely old school. And I remember Roger Staubach, he told us stories like, okay, the old man is calling this, but we're going to do this.
Wow.
That's Roger Staubach now. So, but I say that to say that players know, especially quarterbacks, when players are going to work. They know because they see everything. They see everything. And it's hard when you're not, I won't say it's hard, but it's a different perspective when the head coach is maybe not a quarterback or hasn't been entrenched as an offensive mind. You're not Andy Reid. You're not Bill Walsh. You're not Mike Holmgren. And even some aspects, not Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan. Well, you can say Mike Shanahan, his dad, because he won 2 Super Bowls. But to some degree, even Kyle Shanahan,
is respected. Right? Sean McVay.
Right. So, yeah. So, I mean, these guys are entrenched. Those are the modern offensive minds that we can look to. You know, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, even though Lil Shanny hasn't won the Super Bowl yet. But Nick Sirianni, he's not in that realm.
No, he's not. He's not in that club. No.
May he get there at some point, but I mean,
if this team wins, you're not going to say that it was Sirianni, though. It's going to be Kellen Moore. It's going to be Kellen Moore in this loaded skill position squad.
Same thing we said with Shane Steichen, and we see why he's a head coach in Indianapolis now, right? And he actually did a fantastic job last year with what he had to work with, losing his quarterback, and then, you know, knowing what he could do, could not do with Minshew.
Got busy
but
with
anyway,
Minshew.
Right. So
for what Minshew is,
yeah. I mean,
he was dialing it up.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to win you 7 or 8 games, but that's about it, right?
That's not enough to there are 17, so the math isn't exactly going to math on a Minshew, but that's a lot more than a lot of other guys can get.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to what Wink Martindale said, it's like, you know, they knew that they weren't going to run the ball. They knew that they were going to try to go vertical more often and, you know, pass on early downs to put them in. That's coaching malpractice, man.
It is.
Even in today's NFL. And maybe this one,
it puts pressure on your team.
Yeah, maybe that's one reason why Saquon Barkley is here, because you're not going to know what they're going to do in early downs, right? So, that's just malpractice. I mean, I'm still wrapping my head around your franchise quarterback having to call a rival defensive coordinator or former at that point to just try to get some answers, because the entire coaching staff in that building didn't give him the answers that he needs. I mean, people were saying, and here's another thing. People say, oh, yeah, you know, he has to know the blitz. He's old enough and everything. He did just turn 26. I'm not going to absolve him.
He's going to be in trouble for trying to do his job more. Like,
right,
come on.
Right. So, but for him to have the wherewithal and having no other one to turn to except for somebody.
Call Nick Saban.
90 miles up the turnpike for answers, right? So that doesn't make any sense. And who knows? He might have called Saban. He might have called Lincoln Riley. You know, his college coaches.
Wink is the only one who went to ESPN with it, to McManus.
Yeah, I wonder how that came about. And what was that? And you know, another reporter, reported or posted that the Eagles, I guess they kind of cleaned this up. And they said that a spokesperson from the Eagles said that, okay, they reached out to Wink Martindale as well around the same time. So I don't know if you want to believe that or not. That sounds
leave it alone.
That just sounds like, you know, they're cleaning that up a little bit. You know what I mean? So
fine.
But yeah, that should never happen. I mean, yeah, we would probably accept it more if it came out that, okay, he called Coach Saban or he called Coach Riley or somebody, you know, one of his college coaches and everything, or he even called his dad, which I'm sure he talks to all those guys. Or if he called Tom Brady, he has some type of, or Peyton Manning, I think he has some type of relationship with the Mannings. So, but for your franchise quarterback, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
Well, So to this year's defense, because I think if things went wrong, that Jalen could ask Mr. Fangio what he's seeing and how he can get better. So what we've seen so far, offense is really doing really well, and you take however much take that with whatever amount of salt you'd like. It's going pretty well, and is that more? The offense doing so well, or are people kind of behind the curve in learning Fangio's defense, or is that part of just the physicality of training camp at this point in the 21st century? Is it all of that? What do you think, OJ?
Yeah, I think it is, Matt. And for one, I think it is going to take a while because you have a new offense. A new defense, new defensive philosophy. You have an old school type coach of Vic Fangio who demands a lot of his players. And in today's NFL, that can be a bit of a generation gap. You have to get all those guys to buy in, especially the younger guys. They're working more on defense more than ever before. Darius Slay said this week, he said, this is probably the most intense training camp that he's had. And
he said that today, I think.
Yeah, he doesn't even have
as an Eagle. He didn't. Yeah, he said hell
as an Eagle, when
right.
He was. Yeah, and the Eagles don't. Up to this point, they don't have intense training camp. They just don't. But
they keep going for 140 too.
Yeah, but they are out there longer. The practices are moving towards 90 minutes. I don't know if it's going exactly 2 hours because I haven't been there every day. But they have been longer, and they're doing more things. So spending more time out there at NovaCare. So, but I think, in my opinion, the defense is still a question mark. A lot of questions.
Has to be. They were horrible. It was horrible display.
It's a low bar.
They were trash. Yeah,
right?
They were.
Yeah,
come on.
And
I've you got to let Baker Mayfield get y'all got Baker Mayfield paid.
It was chaos, man. It was just total chaos as everything's coming out. It was total chaos. And again, just thinking back to that article real quick, not knowing who was calling the plays. That was the same thing that was happening on defense.
That's crazy.
Who was here last year? Who was the safety that was here last year? Kevin Byard.
He looked lost. He was not playing at full speed. It took him too long
trying to figure out his own thing.
Yes.
He was rogue himself. That's how much turmoil it was, and we're finding out that it's on both sides. It's crazy. But back to Fangio. I've told everyone he was brought here to restore order.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is the Eagles at minimum are, I think, striving to be at least an average defense, going back to at least an average defense, hopefully above average.
Come on.
Well, I say
all
that
the draft capital they've spent on the defense, though.
I say that to say Eagles are built to outscore everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You're built to be a potent offense, right?
Yep. 31-41, baby.
Right. So I want that wouldn't be good. But get out to a good lead, get up to a 2-touchdown lead, maybe 17 points if everything gets fine, and then
38-20 coast.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then that allows the defense to pin their ears back, get after the quarterback. That starts with Josh Sweat and Bryce Huff. You hope the Georgia boys can prolong their effectiveness over a 17-game season. And what's going to happen at linebacker? It looks like it's going to be Devin White and Zach Bowen. The Eagles are really Eagles are really high. Well, Fangio is really high on Zach Bowen. He's pretty much talked about him the whole training camp. You don't know what Nakobe Dean. He is a 3rd-round pick, so I don't think it's any guarantee that he will start. But if he doesn't start, what do you do with him? Do you keep him? Do you keep him as a backup? But it looks like it's going to be Devin White and Zach Bond, I think.
Wow.
And especially if we see the starters during this preseason, that's probably what it's going to look like. And then you have the abundance at corner. Isaiah Rodgers, I think he's looked very good. Eagles are high on Kaylee Ringo.
Everybody's raving on him. Yeah.
Right. So he's been getting a lot of first team reps. So, but if I had to, and it's still early, but if I had to put money on it, I'm not a betting man, but if I had to put money on it, I would say Isaiah Rodgers might have the edge to start. I mean,
that's what it sounds like.
They love Quinyon Mitchell. I think they are going to try to bring him along a little slowly. Because again, you're talking about Vic Fangio, and he demands a lot, and I think that's a good thing. Because older defensive coordinators, older school defensive coordinators, they rely more on experience. They rely more on
the brain.
Experience, athleticism, and just being smart. So I think that's what we're going to see. I know CJ Gardner-Johnson has a bit of injury right now. Doesn't seem like it's serious. So they're probably just going to keep him under rest for the preseason. They know we're going to get for him. They're kind of building. They've really, I won't say they've built. I think they're going to center the back end of the defense around CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Has to.
And
he came with the number 8.
Right.
Like
right. Change the number. Right. So, and we'll see what happens in the other safety spot. It looks like it's going to be Reed Blankenship, but we'll see. Cooper DeJean, he's been hurt. I know people are envisioning him being in the slot, but I do think I've always said since they drafted him, I think the Eagles envision him as an eventual replacement at safety. But they have an abundance at corner. We'll see how that goes. I still think Avonte Maddox is penciled in a slot if he can stay healthy, of course. But
question.
I think they're definitely going to have I won't say his replacement, but they're definitely going to have somebody up and ready to be his backup in case he does get hurt. Unfortunately, we can anticipate. You almost can anticipate him having some type of injury, but I think they're going to be much better prepared this year and much deeper this year and have a guy ready. And again, we got Vic Fangio. We don't have, somebody essentially learning on the job. That's no shot at Sean Desai necessarily. I actually thought they weren't half bad when Desai was in there. I mean, they were 10-1 under Desai at one point, right? So
against 3 great teams. I mean, Dolphin, not great, good team. The Bills, good team. Chiefs,
right.
Cowboys.
Yeah, they were. However that went. However they panicked and made the changes. Maybe he wasn't subordinate enough, as we were talking about. Hurts a bit. It's. Hope they don't hear this because they might get mad at me or whatever. Maybe they don't care. But because it's me. The Eagles in that organization, they can be a bit of control freaks. I mean, it appears that Sirianni may be one, but then again, he takes his cue from the front office. The front office does have a philosophy of how they want to play football. And again, that goes back to having a potent offense, getting ahead, getting the lead, and building your defense, especially your defensive line, to where they can pin their ears back and rush the quarterback and make teams play from behind.
They built the team the way they wanted to. They want to. They got on paper. So I wanted to ask you about you talked about the embarrassment of riches at defensive back. That means that they're going to have to go light at other positions. I'm thinking maybe they go light at tight end because I can't really think of any, I guess it's Albert O as my number 2 guy. I haven't been
Yeah,
wowed by
not,
Calcaterra.
I'm really not sure how they want to go as far as backup tight end is concerned. I mean, they have a few guys. I mean, they may just default back to Calcaterra, so or someone like that. I think they do. They've needed an upgrade in tight end for the last couple of years. So because again, with Dallas Goedert, you know what you're going to get from him.
He's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt at some point, though.
And a lot of people hold Dallas Goedert in such high regard, and some people see him as a Pro Bowler if he does stay healthy. But I don't. I like Dallas Goedert, but I think too many people hold him in higher regard than I do.
He's got good hands, but he doesn't get himself open. He's a big target with good hands, good sure hands, but he's not cooking folks like, Kelsey and Kittle, breaking people off with a double move.
And doesn't run routes like Zach Ertz.
No.
I mean, Zach Ertz was slow, but he knew how to run a route. He knew how to get open.
Still does. I was at Commander's camp. Still can run a route.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, I mean, he was almost like, I don't think he's going to the Hall of Fame, so excuse this reference, but he was almost like the Steve Largent of tight ends. You go back and look at films of Steve Largent, went to Seattle Seahawks and everything. He wasn't going to beat you in a 40-yard dash, but he knew when the team was going to play a zone, he knew how to beat the zone down the middle. He knew how to, run an out pattern. He just always knew how to get open. And I think Ertz was that guy. I just think Dallas Goedert just relies just so much on his athleticism. And that's probably why he gets hurt a lot, right? So, but they need a back. They need a pass catching backup.
Absolutely, and somebody that could run, two tight end sets with, like they talked about they wanted to do back when Goddard was first coming along. Have another guy out there that brings a different aspect of field stretch. So that's why I like that. I like this Johnny Wilson guy. I don't know why they're so committed to saying he has to play outside receiver, or has to play wide receiver. I mean, that frame.
Well, the way he's built right now, and he was made available to us in the Sunday practice. I mean, he's a redwood tree, right?
Okay,
but he's kind of small to play tight end right now.
Okay.
He doesn't have the muscle to play tight end right now. I mean, if they can get a good maybe 15, 20 pounds on him, maybe so. I mean, but he could be an option in the slot. We'll see just how the matchups are and everything. I mean, he definitely has the height to be one. But just his build and everything. And he was just in, by the time we talked to him, he was just in a t-shirt and shorts. So he's not skinny by any means, but he does not quite have a tight end's body.
Okay.
Could it be an eventual conversion? I can see that eventually, maybe. But right now, he's built like a receiver.
So somebody's position move that I was early on the train on was James Bradberry. He is now playing safety.
Yes.
How's it looking? I mean, I've always said I thought it was a decent move because he's a heady player, always is in the right spot. I just didn't think he's not fleet of foot enough. If people, motion a guy over, they're in zone and they know he's playing, deep third on the outside, it's barbecue chicken, as Shaq says. So safety, I thought it'd be a better situation, but how's it looking?
From what I saw with Bradberry, I mean, of course, he's a pro. He's always been a class dude. Just me talking to him, interviewing him over the last couple years. He's looked, from what I saw, he looked pretty solid. Playing, against the twos and everything. And I can't recall whether, he had some first team reps or whatnot. But I still think he's trade bait. I do, because they have so much depth at not necessarily safety, but they have so much depth at the
Corner,
defensive back
absolutely.
position,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And again, I still think that they see DeJean as an eventual safety, or a hybrid safety, I guess.
Yeah.
And they need a safety that can cover, because
Coop is coming for Reed. I'm gonna just say it, just so I'm not burying the lead. Coop is coming for Reed's job.
Yeah, that's why I think they drafted DeJean for a reason, because Blankenship does struggle in coverage. You saw a lot of that last year, right? So I think that's why.
And Reed, I've been rooting for you. If you listen, the people who were mad at OJ's comments earlier about the team, you might hear this, Reed. I think you got to show us something.
He's a solid dude, works hard, great in the locker room, everything. But I think that's the eventual upgrade or the replacement. Just look out for that. Just all depends. DeJean has to get healthy first. But I think that's what we're looking at. And again, going back to C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he's going to play a huge role in this defense. And as I talked about before, it was a mistake letting him go. Hopefully he can stay healthy as well. But he's going to be a big cog in that defense, and I think he's going to be the de facto playmaker of that defense. And have him, I want to say, roam around, so to speak, but he's going to be the guy to try to pick off plays and take the ball away, so to speak. So we didn't even talk about Slay. Eagles aren't worried about him. He said
he feels good.
Yeah, he's sharpied in. You ain't got to worry about that. It's just a matter of who's going to solidify the linebacker spot, the other linebacker spots, and who's going to be that starting corner. But like I said, my preseason pick is Isaiah Rodgers. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Slay was joking today. He was talking about he's fascinated. Isaiah Rodgers. They said Isaiah Rodgers runs a 4.27. He runs a 4.28. He said,
right.
"Well, I run 4.27."
Well, listen, both high 4.2s, they're going to be in good shape. But I've been very impressed with Isaiah Rodgers. I mean, looks like he's just very eager to play and in great shape, and he looks like he can be a playmaker as well. But we'll see.
I've had my eyes on him for a couple years. I thought he would fit better as a slot corner because, but everything I'm hearing, everything I'm seeing, he looks good on that outside. So look, in this
he looks
pack,
pretty good, man.
In this pack DB room, if he's separating himself and people are comfortable, that's saying a lot.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Caleb Ringo, he's looked good too, and the Eagles are very, very high on him.
Mm-hmm. So who's going to be the star of the preseason? It's always this is the most interesting time to have actually asked this question as a observer of the Eagles, because they usually don't play anybody in the preseason, but we don't know if that's going to change on Friday. We're recording this before the preseason game. So I guess taking the preseason in totality on the front end, who do you think is going to be the star of the preseason for the Eagles?
I say look out for Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I think he's going to get a whole lot of playing time, considering what the Eagles do. I do think it's hard to gauge because they're not going to tell you who's going to play in the preseason until probably game time. So my guess is, if any, you might see the starters just because people have been crying for it. We might see them a series, but I just think Fangio said that Jeremiah Trotter is just getting better and better. And I just think because he's going to have a big opportunity to play, and We'll see what he does. It'll be interesting to see how much they play Nakobe Dean, because he probably needs the reps. I think we can.
He needs the reps.
He probably needs the reps
more than I need to get him.
But again, you want to keep him healthy.
Week 1, and he don't, and he's still, It's an interesting question you bring up. Yeah.
Again, you want to keep him healthy too, right? So, but it's going to be interesting how much we see him play.
Well, my pick, I'm on the other side of the football. For the listeners who care to know my answer, I'm going with John Ross. I think John Ross is going to get if to the extent that we know anything, I think he's trying to separate himself. I think Paris Campbell's left that door wide open. You hear Johnny Wilson even competing for the number 3 spot. So I think that they're going to, and this team likes to throw the football, so they're going to be pitching it around the field. I think I think John Ross going to break a couple.
Well, they have the unofficial depth chart, which they penciled in Paris Campbell as the number 3. But I think that's another compelling thing, another compelling position for the Eagles preseason is who's going to be that number 3. I mean, they've been trying to look for a guy for years now. I mean, I really thought last year Zacchaeus would be that guy, but I don't think he got the ball enough. But then again, when you have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, it's going to be hard, getting but they
can't pick up the blitz, and the defense not picking up the blitz.
Right. And and that takes you
back.
You
get as open as you want to. If the quarterback don't got time to throw you the ball, it don't matter.
Right, and that takes you back to Jalen Hurts. Apparently, he wanted to throw the ball over the middle more. And what was the narrative? Oh, he can't throw the ball over the middle, right? But apparently, from that ESPN article or that report, he wanted to throw the ball. No, again, he wanted answers. So that was part of it. But anyway, it's going to be intriguing, that third wide receiver spot. Is it going to be Campbell? Is it going to be John Ross?
Covey? They giving Covey some time in there?
Covey's interesting too, because he's been getting a lot of reps. I
heard his route running has come along a lot this year.
Right, yeah. And some people are trying to compare him to Cole Beasley. I don't know what that means.
He compared himself to Cole Beasley. He said he's one of the most brilliant.
Okay, so that's where it originated. I didn't even catch that. But I mean,
hey, Cole Beasley was cooking at one point. I'll take it.
I will say, Covey looks. He looks pretty good being in that slot, and he seemed to catch everything that comes his way, and knows how to turn up field and everything. So we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't even worry about the starters this Friday, or even for most of the preseason. You want to look and see who's going to solidify that third wide receiver position, and who's going to be the assembly line at corner.
I need 350 yards this preseason from whoever's going to be the third wide receiver.
350. Oh, that's God, that sounds like a prop bet, man.
somebody, whoever's going to win that spot, or we might, or how we might need to work some magic, because we can't. This team can't, because you already don't have. You're not going to do the 12 personnel thing with 2 tight ends, so you're going to have Saquon, AJ, Devontae, Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, probably not a lot of 12 personnel this year. Yeah,
or maybe 2 running backs, a lot of Shipley, that kind of thing. But I don't think you want to go too heavily with that. I think you do need that third wide receiver who's going to be able to actually make plays, make defenses.
Yeah, how does somebody like a Shipley factor in? I'm not sure. And then. You mentioned wide receiver. You mentioned Johnny Wilson. He's probably going to get a lot of time this preseason too. So we'll see. They're going to have some tough decisions to make, because everybody cannot make the team.
No, That's why I'm saying you got to go light at tight end. That's why Johnny, we got to get you in the way because we can't. Well, I can't keep Grant Calcaterra and cut Keely Ringo or something like that. Well, it just can't work. No chance. Yeah. I'm saying for lack of a better, there's no chance Keely's not going to be on this team. I'm saying something like that.
Yeah, I just think because nobody has really stood out to be a backup tight end, I think they're going to default to somebody like a Calcaterra because I believe he can block, and he may get you a first down every now and then. Doing a little what's the short routes that tight ends do? Just a little.
The drag route.
Yeah, drag route, right?
Yeah.
So, he can get you a 3rd and 3, maybe. So, I guess
I'm gonna be as kind. You got to work with these people, so I'm gonna be kind as I can, OJ. I'm not gonna put.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just trying to project as much as I can. I mean, just go to show you that they need a back. They need a more than adequate backup tight end. But who's that going to be?
Because you're going to keep 3 quarterbacks, at least 3 running backs, 6 or 7. You talking 6 or 7? You got Smitty, Brown, Johnny.
And let me be clear on this as far as 3 quarterbacks is concerned. There has been speculation that I don't know why people have this fascination with Tanner McKee.
No, it's not going to be real.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, because he hasn't really done anything to stand out for me. I mean, Kenny Pickett's going to be the backup. So let's establish that now. It's going to be Kenny Pickett. They gave up a 3rd round pick for him. Is that correct? So
I think that sounds a little high to me, but something, something in that range.
Right. So
let me see for the listeners.
Some people are saying that they got
driving.
Fleeced. Some people are even saying that the Eagles got fleeced for that trade. So
let me see. What is Google saying about Kenny Pickett to the Eagles?
But I just think Pickett's going to be the backup because he's, I don't want to say closest thing to Jalen Hurts, but he's the closest thing as far as being athletic enough to where you can run a similar offense. So I mean,
the Eagles announced this was a Saturday morning that they've agreed to terms on a trade to acquire Kenny Pickett, along with a 2024 4th round pick in exchange for a 3rd round pick and a pair of 20. Yeah. So they got a 4th. Okay.
So got a 4th for a 3rd for
Pickett a 3rd and a couple. Yeah, Pickett and a 3rd. Okay.
Right. So, So I mean, I mean, he would literally have to stink up the joint, which he hasn't.
No, it's not happening. And Marcus Mariota was our backup quarterback. Let's be clear on that. Marcus Mariota is just
Pickett's an automatic upgrade.
Yeah, come on. You're an automatic OJ. You're a great reporter, OJ. But I'm confident you throw a helmet and some shoulder pads.
So yeah,
playbook.
So yeah, I want to just squash that right now. Pickett's going to be the backup, so don't even worry about that. Tanner McKee will be the 3rd quarterback, but it's going to be Hurts, Pickett, and then you go from there.
OJ, well, thank you so much for making time to come on tonight. Whenever you're listening, thank you so much for listening in. Please subscribe and share to your friends who like NFL football, but especially Philly sports. I will have OJ back on again to talk about the Sixers, Phillies, and of course the Eagles again. OJ, thanks for making time.
Thank you, Matt. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Because when it's week 7 against Dallas, Michael Parsons gonna go out there yelling at you. When it's week 1, Xavier McKinney's gonna be in the deep half yelling at AJ. When it's Super Bowl, who knows on the other side yelling at the whole offensive line? I'm just resembling the same shit that you would see on the field, in practice, in the meeting room, off the field, and on the field. I'm not gonna change. Y'all want me to be this. But put winner behind my name, and competitor and a passionate player before you say anything else. Love y'all.